Yeah.
They go out and they trade a second-round pick. There's also some later-round picks that were involved in this, but they swapped some picks there with Seattle to acquire DK Metcalf.
I'm a fan. I mean, this is a big move. I don't think it's one of the worst-kept secrets ever. They've been looking for a receiver for a year and a half now. I mean, a brand name.
And did not want to get shut out in this.
Right. Give me the bird in the hand, and it's a impressive bird. I mean, I was very, very familiar, obviously, with Metcalf, but since trading for him, I dug into him even more. The scouting report on him is I can't wait to see him in person. I mean, like, we've seen some big wideouts, but not like this dude. I mean,
so last night after the trade, my wife hadn't watched the Super Bowl version of the Great American Baking Show, which DK Metcalf
you mentioned that before he was on there.
The Super Bowl version of it. And so they show him now. He's on there with Eric Armstead and Tony Gonzalez,
tight end and a 6'8" defensive end or whatever.
Along with there were a couple of actresses on there. One act, Amy Smart, and then somebody else. Anyways,
okay.
So they show them all walking out together to go into the baking tent. And I told my wife, I said, the guy in the middle is a wide receiver.
He's a little fast guy.
The guy next to him.
That's how I described to my wife. He's the little fast guy that catches passes.
A Hall of Fame tight end who he's bigger than.
Yeah. Oh, I bet he's bigger than Gonzalez.
Yeah, he made Gonzalez look kind of small. I said, the guy next to him then is a 6'8" defensive end.
Yeah, who's probably close to 300 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
With
every
arms
bit
this long, et cetera, too. And he probably looks like he belongs or the second biggest guy.
He didn't look like he was 6'8".
He didn't look like the fastest guy there
No.
or the most athletic of that crew. So he is incredibly impressive physically. And boy, what I didn't quite realize how fast he gets to top speed. I mean, he is a nightmare.
It was like 1.46 at the combine.
I bet. And he looks faster than that now. His strides are is flying. So the reason he was in the Deontay Johnson draft and the reason he didn't go as high as it was a great receiver draft. Him and A.J. Brown end up going the second round. They were teammates. He had a terrible 3-cone drill and everyone killed him for it. I don't think it matters at all.
No.
And here's why. I mean,
and he's shown that over the course of his career.
Because he comes off the line so
you can't press him.
He beats the crap out of press, for one thing. And he gets corners to flip their hips so fast that he can break it off and steal a slant from you at all times. I mean, because he is so big and powerful and explosive off the ball. He's one of the best deep threats in the league. And the change of direction stuff has definitely improved. Like, there's no doubt in my mind he's worked on out routes and comebacks and slants and coming out of his breaks. Presents a big target. He's got good hands. Now, there's a couple negatives. He's not as good a contested ball catcher as you think he is because he's the biggest receiver on the planet. He doesn't moss people left and right on fades. Like, Pickens is more that style. He's fumbled a lot. You know, he's an aggressive run after the catch guy that tries to break tackles and often does and just destroys little people trying to tackle him. And he's volatile on the field. He's taken some penalties that he needs to clean up and get a better grasp of.
It's all on the field stuff.
Oh, yeah.
With him.
I mean, right.
Kind of like
character stuff.
When you talk about Pickens and people, well, he's such a problem. It's on the field stuff. It's not off the field stuff.
Right.
And again, I ask you to go watch.
A lot of it's competitiveness.
Yeah, go watch that Great American Baking Show. It's on Roku or whatever. I don't even know what it's on, but you can search it. It's out there. And I came away from that. I remember watching it around the Super Bowl, and I'm like, he's a lot different guy than I thought he was.
I don't know his
based on his
personality.
on-field.
Yeah.
And he even said at one point, he when they were introducing him, he said, "I'm a lot different person off the field than I am on it."
Like a Palomalu or whatever. Yeah, right.
He just has a really competitive streak. To your point about that 2019 draft. Yeah. Terry McLaurin has the most catches of any receiver taken in that draft.
Third rounder, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has 460 catches for 6,379 yards. A.J. Brown is second, 446 for 7,026. Metcalf is third with 438 for 6,348 touchdowns.
Yeah, 48 touchdowns.
48 touchdowns.
The
only guy with more is A.J. Brown.
Okay. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
He went 2 picks ahead of Deontay Johnson.
Andy Isabella's in there ahead of him. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a weird receiver
Debo
draft.
Samuel was in that draft as well.
It's a great draft class, right?
Marquise Brown was in that draft. Hunter Renfrow, Darius Slayton. I mean, there were some dudes that have played well
Big time
in that draft, and there were some other guys that haven't really hit.
Mm-hmm. I think Marquise Brown was the first one taken in that class. Pretty sure, because the day 2 guys were way better than the day 1s.
Let me see here. I got that here in front of me.
Because here's a little thing I think people will get a kick out, or be encouraged with too.
Oh, N'Keal Henry went.
Henry went that.
N'Keal Harry, I should say.
Harry, yeah,
was the
Patriots.
first receiver taken at 32. Then you have Marquise Brown, a few picks later. Then it was J.J. Arcega-Whiteside.
Yeah, there's some misses
at 57. Andy Isabella at 62. Paris Campbell at 59.
Then it starts to get good.
Yeah.
Then it's like A.J. Brown.
Mecole Hardman was in there. He went at 56.
Okay.
Debo Samuel went at 36. These aren't in the right order.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think Harry was first.
Metcalf was the 64th pick in that draft. I get this.
Deontay was 66 that year.
Let me see here. Okay, yeah, Marquise Brown was 25th.
Okay, that makes sense.
There we go. And then N'Keal Harry was right after that at 32.
Yeah, and Super Bowl champs.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Then it was Debo, A.J. Brown at 51.
Mm-hmm.
Mecole Hardman at 56. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside at 57. Philadelphia again. Philadelphia can't draft wide receivers, by the way.
Devontae Smith's their first hit in 1,000 years. That's why they traded for A.J. Brown.
Paris Campbell at 59. Andy Isabella at 62. And DK Metcalf was at 64.
Deontay was right after.
Deontay Johnson was 2 picks later at 66.
Yeah, the day 2 receivers were pretty awesome. So I just heard this morning, too, that Seattle, despite their issues on offense, and they had a lot, they couldn't protect at all. I mean, at all. Their offensive lines were really bad. Still saw like the 3rd highest percentage of too high shells. And Smith-Njigba is not a deep threat, and Tyler Lockett ain't what he used to be. Why do you think they saw the too high shells?
And Geno's not a great deep thrower.
And they can't protect.
Yeah.
I mean, their running game was not threatening. But if you have Pickens and Metcalf on the outside, you're going to see too high.
The safeties are
going
to be 20 yards off the line of scrimmage.
And
they have to be.
And if they're not, I don't know who the quarterback is at the moment.
It could probably
is going to probably go their way on one-on-ones.
Yeah.
And I just think it has a huge ripple effect to the run game. I mean, Steelers ran into what they deemed loaded boxes at one of the highest percentages in the league. That's going to go down. I mean, it has to.
So they traded away a 2nd-round draft pick to make this happen. And my immediate thought was 21 is now in play for a running back.
I thought the same thing, too. Like, just go into the deep end offensively.
Yeah.
Assuming they sign Rodgers or Wilson or whoever, if Hampton's sitting there, do you just go, we're fixing the offense.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it. We're getting skill guys.
Because you're not going to get the pick again until 84.
Until 84. Now, I think trading down from 21 is a better chance now than ever, too, just to get one more pick.
But somebody's got to want to come up to get someone.
Right.
That's the problem with that.
And we talked about this off the air, and this is getting into the weeds, but right now they are so set up for comp picks next year with Dan Moore's contract, Fields' contract. Slay doesn't count against this group. Either quarterback wouldn't count against this group. Metcalf doesn't count against this group. Then maybe you're even trading a 3rd next year on draft day for somebody you like too, or moving up somewhere in the middle portions of the draft or day 2. They got a lot of future draft picks coming their way.
Yeah, the problem is you don't have those comp picks yet, and so
you'd have to trade your own pick. Right.
You'd have to trade your own pick. So get it. You can trade 2/3 to move up into the 2nd round.
I know. Yeah.
Then you don't go. You go from whatever 58 or whatever to 122 before you have another pick.
Like, I would imagine they're trying to get a 2nd-round pick somehow.
Somehow, some way.
But to me, DK straight up for a 2nd-round pick is a deal that's a very good value to me.
Now, does that mean, and we've talked about this, that you can't have George Pickens and DK Metcalf on the same team?
I don't know.
In some ways, I get it. They're both very volatile.
Mm-hmm. And they have some similar overlying skill sets.
There's some overlying skill sets. I think Metcalf has shown the ability to go over the middle more than Pickens.
Yes, yeah. Drag. I mean, Pickens can
He can do those. Yeah.
He lollygags over
Yeah.
the middle more than I would like. And we know that this has not been an over-the-field passing attack really for several years. It's not just a Wilson or Fields thing, but it's not their specialty either. I think they do have to attack the middle of the field more. But Metcalf on crossers and things like that is pretty accomplished. You know, I mean, he's not bad at that at all. I don't know what you do about Pickens versus Metcalf. I mean, it's tantalizing to me to put those two outside the numbers every snap, and then Wilson and Austin factor in here and there when you
get
go
a couple of
small
small forwards.
Right.
Actually, a small forward and a power forward.
With Washington and Freiermuth.
Yeah.
I mean, your pass catchers are ginormous.
I'm saying then you add a 220-pound running back to that equation. It's like,
well, yeah. And a developing O-line and all those things. So that's appealing. But if they were to look at this like, well, we invested a ton in Metcalf, we're going to get that second plus or whatever for Pickens, sign Slayton or something along those lines, I totally understand that as well. But the Twin Towers, as it stands Monday at 4:15 or whatever, is pretty threatening.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's kind of like what the Chargers used to have when they had Mike Williams and Keenan Allen's not small. He's 6'2".
No, right.
And they always had another big receiver on the outside, and it was a handful.
And it made me think, too, that right after the Super Bowl, we know that the Steelers have a lot of Eagles ties. They signed an Eagle today. I mean, and especially if it was going to be Fields being the Hurts, throwing to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, I mean, those two receivers have a ton of value in that offense, even though they run the ball like crazy, because you can't load the box as much. You know what I mean? Like, you could still sort of mimic what they do on offense.